May I come in, sir?
Please come.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, ma'am. Good
Afternoon.
morning,
Good morning. Sit, please.
Thank you, sir.
Shall we start with your place of work, Reserve Bank?
Yes, sir.
I'll say something negative, what I notice about the RBI. Whenever they have a problem with some commercial bank, they tell them not to refund the money to depositors. Correct? There's some kind of a temporary ban on giving out money, correct?
Sir, I would beg to differ here. Sir, in my humble opinion, sir, I believe the RBI Ombudsman scheme which is there, sir, it is very much efficiently working to help out the people by.
Suddenly, RBI says also cooperative bank will not release money from deposits of the depositors. Does that happen? Doesn't it happen?
So it would depend on a case to
But it
case
happens.
basis.
My question is, why should a depositor suffer? Either it's the problem with the RBI, they did not keep watch over banks, or it's the bank's fault, or both. It is certainly not the fault of the depositor. So why should we suffer?
Sir, in my opinion, I believe RBI looks into all these matters in the most preemptive and proactive manner. So, as we even saw in the case of Paytm, so the interest of the depositors is kept foremost, sir. Regardless of that, sir, there might be some cases whereby there would be some issue, but sir, I believe RBI takes care of the fact that depositors don't suffer, and in that case, the liability is put on the banks.
Fine, I'll accept it. Though I don't agree with it, I'll accept it. You did something with the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment.
Yes, sir.
Correct?
Yes, sir.
Empowerment means what in this context?
So empowerment basically refers to that every person, irrespective of their caste, class, or any difference, should get equal access to all opportunities, be it educational opportunity or employment,
So by
healthcare.
that logic, should not the Ministry of Women and Child Development be merged with the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment?
So initially, the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment was a part of the setup itself. Later on, it was separated. So that more focus can be put onto the target audience that Ministry of Social Justice caters to. So including the old age, manual scavengers, scheduled castes, people who are drug addicts. So all these.
I was coming to that. And also the Department of Disability Affairs.
Yes,
Correct?
sir. Indeed, sir.
Why should the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment be worried about addicts? Should not that be with the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare?
So there are certain linkages, certainly. However, sir, to have focus on the population which is marginalized because of the fact that they are drug addicts, so they find difficulty in getting integrated into the
whose fault is it
society.
if somebody is a drug addict? His own fault or the society's fault?
So perhaps both. So it's because of demand as well as supply. So because there is the supply of drugs, the
Well, there is a
issues.
supply of drugs, but I don't take drugs. It's my choice.
Yes, sir. So the demand factor also comes into play. So mostly the youth are affected by it because of various
But you
peer.
didn't answer my question. Who's to blame? If I'm a drug addict, is it not? Should I not take the blame? Why should a government department look after people who are addicts?
So the primary responsibility certainly would be of the person. However, in that case, a hand-holding will definitely be required. And it is where the government comes into picture to rescue that person,
Well,
to rehabilitate.
by that logic, we should be also hand-holding all kinds of criminals. They are also misfits in a way.
So to a certain extent, that is also done. For instance, in case of juveniles, so the government may make sure, the establishment make sure that such youth are taken out of that, their counseling is done. So, however, sir, with regards to criminals, I believe there's a subtle difference between drug addicts and criminals. So it depends on what degree of the criminal is. Sir.
I know there's a difference. All I'm saying is that in both cases, people might have done it out of their own choice. I chose to be an addict, I chose to be a criminal.
Yes, sir.
To that extent, there should be no difference, or is there?
So I would consider there would be a difference
What
because
difference?
so drug addiction is more because of the external factors. Certainly, that is there in the criminal mindset also. But sir, it's easier to get a drug addict out of the addiction. But in case of criminals, if it is hardened, then more hard decisions need to be taken.
I'll accept what you're saying.
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon,
Good afternoon,
Shrishti.
ma'am.
So, I'm very interested in your study on the transgender community in Delhi.
Yes, ma'am.
And you talked about different categories of people who are facing, who are marginalized. What is the difference between marginalized and vulnerable?
May I take a few seconds?
Yes.
Please? As such, I'm unable to think of a watertight compartmentalization. I believe both are overlapping in the sense that a marginalized community, when it is separated from the rest of the majority, it becomes vulnerable. So, ma'am, I see them
So,
overlapping.
there's also an issue of discrimination, right?
Indeed.
So you mentioned a lot of categories, but you didn't really mention the LGBTIQ.
Yes,
So-
ma'am, that is also.
So, what are they? Are they marginalized or are they vulnerable?
Ma'am, both, I would say, because of the lack of acceptance in the society as well as lack of access to various other opportunities.
They face a lot of social stigma, discrimination, right? So, what did your study reveal? Some
Ma'am,
key
the-
findings.
Yes, ma'am. I basically worked with an NGO called Basera Samajik Sansthan, and almost 35 respondents were there. Ma'am, the key findings involve the various challenges that the transgender population faces. Ma'am, firstly, with respect to education, the discrimination that they face in the schools. Secondly, with respect to healthcare, the apathy of the doctors is also there. Thirdly, the crimes which are there against the transgender population, and because of a lack of concrete policy against that, that is also an issue. Ma'am, fourthly, the lack of employment opportunities, as there's around 96% unemployment in the transgenders. And ma'am, fifthly would be the lack of reservation. That is also something that the respondents themselves mentioned. So, ma'am, these were the issues that we found during the study, and apart from that, ma'am, we gave ahead a lot of solutions.
Yeah, so you gave some recommendations, and they want reservation in like in UPSC and
Educational
government.
institutions as well as employment opportunities. Ma'am, for instance, recently Karnataka has become the first state to give a 1% horizontal reservation to transgenders. So,
Across in all sectors of all government, also employment, education.
yes, ma'am, as far as I know.
Okay, thanks. I wasn't aware of that. And just some, you've also done international relations.
Yes, ma'am.
What is the IMEC? The corridor, have you heard of the?
Ma'am, IMEC?
Yeah,
IMEC.
yes, exactly.
Yes,
IMEC,
ma'am.
yeah.
Ma'am, it's the India, Middle East, Europe corridor, which basically focuses on infrastructural development across roads and railways as well as through ports, through the maritime route. So it would basically connect India to Europe through the Middle East. And that connectivity will boost trade as well as other interlinkages.
And is it a counter to China's the Belt and Road Initiative?
Yes, ma'am, it is said so. As an alternative, it is being presented.
Presented as that, but do you think it will work as a counter strategy?
Ma'am, it was supposed to. However, given the recent turmoil in the Middle East because of the conflict between Israel and Hamas, it has taken a back step, certainly. However, given the future, ma'am, I believe we will come out with ways to make it work.
So you think in this economic race, global race for, being number one, number two, number three, but what do you think are the chances between China and India?
Ma'am, the trajectories of both the nations has certainly been different. However, given the current state, ma'am, I feel India is doing better than China. We see
In
that,
what way?
yes,
what
ma'am,
way?
in China we see there is a sort of recession coming about because of the backstep that their construction sector has seen, the fall in the stock markets as well, then the rise of unemployment, even the real estate sector, which was the backbone of the Chinese economy, that has seen a backset of late. However, in case of India, ma'am, India has shown that resilience. Even IMF is calling it
We also
a
have,
star in.
true, today Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley
Yes,
were
ma'am.
very gung-ho about India. But we are also seeing jobless growth, right? So we are not seeing great employment as well. But let me pass on. You can think about it.
Yes, ma'am, despite that, I believe unemployment is reducing. Now we have reached around 3.2 percentage. Even urban unemployment is reducing to 6.5 percentage. So
Thank you.
a good
Thank
way
you.
to go. Thank you, ma'am.
Srishti,
Yes.
coming from Kanjavla, you were born there or?
Sir, I was born and brought up in Ranikheda. The
Okay.
post office is Kanjhavla, sir.
Post office Kanjavla.
Yes, sir.
In that area, which will be a good wetland to visit?
Sir, as such, I am not able to recollect a prominent
Alright.
wetland, but there's a
Alright.
pond in the village.
Pond in the village.
Yes.
Is there any scheme of the local government or the government of Delhi for rejuvenation of ponds?
Sir, I am unable to recollect any such scheme as of now.
Okay. Normally people say that India resides in villages.
Yes, sir.
When you look at the current migration trends and a skewed understanding of urban-rural divide or urban-rural settings,
Yes.
like in Delhi, you may claim that you belong to a rural area, but is that area really rural as Bastar? Is it not urban, completely urban in its setting? And all the Laldora areas in Delhi, the villages, some of the villages that still have PRIs, don't you think that that is a wrong assessment and India in fact is more urban than rural?
So I do agree to that to a certain extent. So, however, in that regard, I believe we have come up with something called as urbanized villages, and that is there in Delhi also. The Delhi government has come up with a scheme called Delhi Gramodaya Abhiyan, whereby they are working on transformation of 360 urbanized villages. So, sir, perhaps that fine line between a village, a rural and the urban setup, that is something that we
No,
need to
but
work.
Gramodaya is fine, but they are not removing rural areas because of political interests and because of other developmental interests. They get their pies. So this divide doesn't seem to be going away. Okay, tell me, India saw a huge mass movement in the northwestern India for Jat reservation.
Yes, sir.
Do you belong to one? You are a Jat?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you think by any stretch of imagination they deserve to be called OBCs?
Sir, currently the status is that the OBC status is given within Delhi for a Jat of Delhi, but centrally that is not given. So, given my opinion, I believe, sir, there has to be a study in that regard. I feel right now I won't be, sir, having so much knowledge to comment
No,
on
but
that.
what is your opinion? Whatever you have seen of Jats, they are dominant players.
Yes, sir.
So, what is your opinion? I'm not seeking your opinion, not a bureaucratic reply.
So actually, I would have come across a very few Jats, I believe, but the entire picture would be clear only after further.
Seeing your family, would you recommend any reservation for them?
No, sir.
No. So, could it apply to the whole of Jats?
So maybe or maybe not.
Maybe. Okay, I like it. I like this particular answer. Anyway,
Thank you, sir.
okay. We have seen Russia-Ukraine war.
Yes, sir.
more than 2 years,
Yes, sir.
just 10,000 deaths, 70,000 displaced, right? And millions others displaced. Israel Hamas war, 4 months, 30,000 dead, and more than 1.5 million people displaced. Do you think the response of the world and the bodies, the world bodies, is equal to both the conflicts?
So I would say there is certainly a lack of response, even on behalf of UNSC. So we see that USA has been vetoing the resolution of UNSC in case of Israel-Hamas war. So that shows that these global bodies are somewhere taking a back step in that regard and not actually taking the responsibility of being a global governance architecture. So I feel the response has been less and much more needs to be done in that regard.
My last question, very quickly.
Yes, sir.
You are drawing a salary of 2,80,000 rupees, right? This by joining any civil service,
Yes.
you will get this salary after 30 years of service. Are you okay with it?
Yes, sir.
That you still want to join?
Yes, sir. I'm well aware of the financial aspect of it. So for me, money would be a secondary consideration, and the salary that I'll get from the civil services would be sufficient enough for me to sustain myself and my family.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, Srishti. My first question was the last question of my list.
You can carry on with that. Ask more.
Now tell me, you are working in Mumbai.
Yes, sir.
Once upon a time it was Bombay. And Bombay as a geographical area formed the dowry of a queen. Who was that?
Sir, I've heard of it. I'm
Yes.
unable to recollect it right now.
Okay, let it be. Okay.
I'll look into it, sir.
Now, you're a banker as well.
Yes.
So suppose X bank has to close down in my country. So as Reserve Bank, what is the procedure you will follow for closure of that bank and the public interest not being sacrificed?
Sir, since I've not worked in a particularly technical department as such, so the nitty-gritty, sir, I am not really aware of.
Okay.
However, given a general idea, sir, the bank would make an application to RBI, which, sir, as far as I know, it would be scrutinized by the Department of Regulation.
Okay.
So that would send a report. Even Department of Supervision would come into play by looking at the various macroeconomic fundamentals of the bank per se, in order to check whether the closure of the bank will have an impact on the depositors' interests or not. So based on that, I believe the decision will be
Okay,
taken.
you must go back and study these aspects.
Yes.
Now, is the policy of waiver of loans for the major defaulters, thousands of crores they take loan from the bank, public money, my money, your father's money, your money,
Yes.
and then they just waived off and they are somewhere in foreign countries, enjoying their life. Is it good or bad for the public, and what can be done to stop this?
So certainly in various aspects it is not good for the economy as a whole and even for the taxpayers. So given the solutions in that regard, so I feel it should be scrutinized properly which segment, what person or company is demanding for a waiver. So depending on the need, on a case-to-case basis, it should be determined. Also, sir, we can incorporate the use of artificial intelligence in this regard to maybe gather the credit worthiness and other parameters of the person or the company to see whether they are an offender or whether willful defaulters or not. So all those parameters can be checked with technology.
Okay. I'll give you 1 minute on a topic to speak. Supreme Court judgments lately are timely interventions and not judicial overreach. For or against is your choice. Understood? Should I repeat?
Yes, may I take a few
Yeah,
seconds?
please.
So I would take a stand for the thing. So the interventions of Supreme Court have been timely interventions, I would say. So that can be seen from a lot of judgments of late. So for instance, the Sabrimala judgment was one. The judgment revoking the triple talaq would be one. So these ensure gender equality. So then another judgment would be, sir, so recently, the judgment given by declaring the electoral bonds as illegal. So that is certainly which brings forth the right to information of the people. So and even the Sudipto Chakraborty judgment, which was given recently. So these are some of the judgments which show that the Supreme Court is actively and is taking stands, and that shows how judicial activism is there, and so less of judicial overreach, I believe.
And the Bilkis Banu one also.
Yes, sir, definitely, sir.
Thank you, Srishti.
Thank you for pointing out.
Yes, Srishti.
Yes.
Now I'll start with this thing. There are research organizations based in different places, no? Political strategy research, economic research,
Yes, sir.
and they are funded by countries, sometimes individuals. And their main job is to create narratives against, mainly India has faced this situation very much.
Yes, sir.
Now, how through policy or through diplomacy, the country can counter these research, because sometimes they are very damaging also. So what is your take on this, and how the country should, because you are doing IR also,
Yes.
you must have studied some of these, no? Because the research report may be totally ulta of what is actually existing.
Yes, sir.
It covers human rights, it covers economy, it covers so many subjects under sun. Yes, please.
So of late, we have seen a lot of such reports coming up, whereby India has been showing as performing poorer than various nations which otherwise are not ahead of India.
Yeah.
So in that case, one, India should actively have communication channels with through bilateral, multilateral arrangements, and to understand the methodology that those organizations are using. Since we are saying that those methodologies are not correct, we should come up with our own statistics in that regard, because only saying that the report is not correct, sir, perhaps people won't believe it. So coming up with the right figures. So I believe that would ensure that people's trust in the data of the government would be maintained.
So one way is to handle with correct statistics
Yes,
and
sir.
correct information.
Yes, sir.
And that is the only way, or is there some other way of diplomacy? And
So diplomatically also, India is pointing out the issues that are there in the reports. However, sir, diplomacy, I think, is less working here, because those organizations are not giving heed to what India is saying. So in that regard, sir, I feel the statistical aspect would be more prominent.
okay, now regarding RBI, there are cases of banks doing wrong things willfully. Like there was this huge case of NPA.
Yes,
So
sir.
what was the role RBI played there in correcting the situation? Was there any constructive role played?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
A lot of steps have been taken by RBI in that regard, sir. Firstly, there is the asset quality review that is done to check whether the reporting that banks do of their asset quality is right or not. So secondly, there is the prompt corrective action, which comes later on to rectify any issues.
No, was
which are-
that on advice of government or on its own? Because RBI, is it subservient to the government, or it has some autonomy? What is the present situation?
So RBI would be seen as an autonomous organization.
Autonomous organization. Yeah.
Though the shareholding of government is there,
How much? What?
it's 100% only. It's
100%.
government.
Yeah. Okay.
But even as per the Section 7 of RBI Act, sir, RBI is seen as an autonomous organization.
Okay. Yeah. So what else? Like RBI was actively involved.
Yes, sir.
But during demonetization, it is believed that RBI, either its advice was not taken or it was not knowing actually. Is this correct?
So I would say it isn't. So in my humble opinion and the knowledge that I have currently, so as per the RBI Act, and since currency comes under the union list, so it is mentioned that it will be RBI which will recommend for any such measure, and then the government will take a decision. However, the contention here happened because it actually began from the government asking RBI to consider the proposal of demonetization, and then it was recommended by RBI. So, however, the demonetization case also happened, and Supreme Court also upheld it and said that lawfully it was right for RBI to give a recommendation, that is the central board giving a recommendation to the government for demonetization.
All right, yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
How many marks will you give yourself today?
So I don't know
Okay.
how it went.
On a scale of 1 to 10.
So a 7.
छप्पर फाड़ के बोलो.
You've given other mocks.
Yes, sir.
What feedback?
Yes, sir.
What feedback did you get?
So it was good only. The constant feedback was that don't give too many marks.
Yeah, agreed. When did you interview?
So 26th March, exactly a month.
Exactly a month.
नहीं करना.
I think this was a very good interview. Both in terms of your personality, in terms of answers. Overall, I think one of the actually very good ones. Except one two very small little things, you don't have to worry about them.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, everybody makes that kind of. My question on RBI, that RBI seems to be sort of customers are left
High and dry.
high and dry
Yes.
because they can't withdraw their own money. I thought that your answer was more like a spokesperson for RBI. Am I right or wrong?
So while saying that, I could also feel it, but I couldn't understand how to balance it out.
Why would you balance it out? Who asked you to balance it out?
So because customer depositors' interest is being looked after RBI.
I can show you so many news items where because of RBI action the customer has been actually left high and dry. Anyway, all I'm saying is that even if you believe in what you were saying, I mean, no harm there.
Yes, sir.
Should not come out like a spokesperson. It should sound a little more sort of genuine. Get my point?
Yes, sir. I'll read of such cases more, perhaps. So
There
I'm
are
less
plenty.
aware
In
of.
fact, there are plenty of them, not one or two.
Okay, sir.
I was deliberately trying to compare a drug addict with a criminal
Yes, sir.
just to see that if I corner you, will you get out of it?
Yes, sir.
I know they are different. I know they can't be compared. I was doing it deliberately. You did pretty well. What I liked about you was, maybe may not be, it was said with so much confidence that there was nothing left to be said.
Thank
Normally, when people can't form an opinion, they are very hesitant, going round and round. But this was a very fresh breath of fresh air. Confidence about neither this nor that.
Thank you,
But
sir.
absolutely great interview. I really do not want to guide you into doing this, doing that. You're good as you are.
Thank
Yeah.
you, sir.
Okay. Sakshi,
So Srishti.
Srishti, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay, sir.
Srishti, you're outstanding, brilliant, right?
Thank you, sir.
And whatever you think was right, you said it,
Yes, sir.
right? The board may have divergent view. So your response, whatever you think is correct, you made during the interview, and that was awesome. You held on to your guns,
Thank you, sir.
right? You didn't surrender at all. And wherever you didn't know, you smiled it away. You smiled out of it, I don't know. Right? You disarmed the board. Okay. My only regret would be when you join the service that we lost a potential RBI governor. Okay. All the very best to you.
Governor would be possible even after.
I like it. I like it. Excellent. 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 You rock, really. You rock. है ना?
Oh, wow.
Don't do too many marks. I would also advise.
Full marks on this.
ये पता है ज़्यादा करोगी ना,
Yes.
ओरिजिनलिटी खो देंगे हम लोग, ज्ञान दे देंगे ना. So retain your originality. You are a complete package. Okay. All right.
You will be in for
Any
sure.
questions?
I just had one question. You've kept foreign service third. Why don't you see yourself in the foreign service? I think you would be great in the foreign service.
Ma'am, actually, I was very much confused about it, even
Okay.
for keeping it at the first preference. But since I started thinking about it very late, when the DAF was already out, so I thought taking a decision in that short span was very difficult for me. Had maybe someone discussed more about it, ma'am, because IFS is not even talked about, like.
Really?
And
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. It's
Yeah.
always
No,
about
your
IAS.
choice is correct. You will make a better administrator. It would be lost, no? Her talents would be lost if she had joined IIS.
So, but I
IFS
won't deny
also
saying
No,
that
no,
still
no,
I
please
do
don't
get
say
second
that.
thoughts of
Yeah.
having kept
Please don't.
IIS is better, much better.
Any
We
questions?
had two batchmates, no, who after getting IFS quit. One tried IIS and got it,
Yeah.
and other one just left. No, she wanted to come to IIS, but she was not
Uma.
accepted.
Umar Ratnam.
उमर रत्नम तो छोड़ के इसमें गई, IAS में गई, महाराष्ट्र cadre. और सोनालिनी जो है उसने छोड़ नहीं दिया because she tried a lot to come to IAS.
Correct.
She realized that she was cut out for IAS, but
You know, it's a question of personal choices.
yeah.
You look at anyway. That is for us to
Yeah,
discuss.
But
The
no,
choices you have
your
made,
choice is good.
The die is cast for this attempt, right?
Yes, sir, now-
So whatever you have chosen is the best that you could. So all the very best to you for whatever you want. We hope you achieve it, right? All the best.
All the best.
Thank you, sir.
Good luck.
Good luck, all the best. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Remain fresh
All
in
the best.
thinking.
Great.
When is your interview, by the
1
way?
month.
So,
1 month from now.
26th
Oh,
March.
you have enough time. So you don't have to brush up, but then keep abreast of current affairs issues. No?
And your own RBI.
Yeah,
Yes, sir. I need to read more upon it, I think.
yes.
Oh.
Uh,
All the best. Good luck.
Thank you, sir.
All the
Thank you,
best.
sir.
You're great.